Welcome to Cocobean Cooks. Today I'm so excited to be baking with the one and only Schoon, award-winning baker, family man and entrepreneur. Fritz, thank you so much for having us at your manufactory. So what are we making today?
So today I'll show you how to make a traditional sourdough bread.
Sounds amazing. Let's get started. So Fritz, what inspired you to start baking bread?
It's actually a strange story. So my background, I was in construction. I was a quantity surveyor, and I was working as a junior QS. You work on the site with the workers, and I saw a huge demand for food on site. So I started a concept on the side where I set up kiosks on busy construction site, and I'd appoint a lady and she'd be making pop and stew and half loaves with jam and butter. But then we used so much bread that I actually started a bakery to supply our kiosks. I became fascinated about the process. I heard about Marcus Farbinger, the Austrian baker in Neisner, and I pretty much pitched up on his door and said, listen, I want to learn this trade.
Will you look up to him?
Oh, wow. Yeah, in a big way. He was an amazing inspiration in my life.
And then did you start Schoon, or back then I think it was the Oudebank Bakkerij? I still remember when I was a student.
I really didn't want to use our name for anything because I didn't want to make it about me. It wasn't supposed to be about me, and it was a natural development into changing of the name. But your Oudebank was the roots.
Well, should we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the most intimidating component of a sourdough bread. It's generally known as a mother in a bakery. By us, it's the mother because it looks after all the doughs. So we created this about 2 months before we started Oudebank Bakkerij. This is still that same mother now, almost 10 years later.
That's incredible.
Obviously, we're looking at the lactic acid in this. That's the beneficial component in this, but I don't want it to be sour.
Yes, because I was going to say it doesn't smell sour.
No, so you actually get the creaminess of the grain, and that's what we're going for. So this is basically equal amounts of flour and water, still the same recipe as we used that time. Equal amounts flour and water, and now with the component of fermented mother. It goes from mother to starter because it's the start of our final dough.
And this starter, the fermentation process, is so good for the gut, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is the benefit of naturally fermented bread, is everything that happens right here. This is pretty much an even consistency. We'll just make sure that there's no lumps in there. So what we'll do now is we'll transfer this into a clear container. We'll follow our fermentation on the side of it. You want to be able to see the air pockets forming, etc. on the side. So transfer immediately. 2 hours from then, we can place it in the fridge for when we need it. What we've got here is Oryx desert salt. That's the only component outside of flour and water that we use. And then here what we've got is, obviously, as you know, we're big followers and supporters of Gideon Milling, and we love their flour. It's absolutely fantastic. So we've got a mixture of whole wheat flour and white bread flour. So next we'll add the water into the little pool that we've created. For now, I use a little tool just to help me get the items together, but the use of the hand for the baker is essential. The reason for the wet dough is you get a nice big open crumb, which is fantastic. Okay, so you can see our consistency is coming together nicely here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my starter.
I think also adding the whole grain, the stone ground grain, it's easier for your body to digest.
Oh, absolutely. What the sourdough does in combination with those whole grains, it breaks down the gluten, which some people have a little bit of a problem with. The fermentable sugars that is available in wheat, which the plant needs to grow, is still there. So the sourdoughs, the lactic acid bacteria, breaks down those sugars, which causes us to not have those sugar spikes.
That's incredible.
Amazing, amazing. So you can see that I'm breaking it up with my hand, but I think best is, I think you must do this yourself and experience it to understand what I'm talking about. People have this image in their mind that people start to knead dough, which is not the case here. We actually don't want to interfere with the process of the dough, so we actually just bring the ingredients together. So I like to use only one hand, which I think you should too. Wet your hand a little bit and just get stuck in there. I mean, and squash it between your fingers. One of the reasons why bakers' hands are so essential is because working with your hands, you're getting that natural bacteria into, and that's the hands that you eat with. So it's
like a whole cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it feels amazing, and I see what you mean about a wet dough.
Absolutely. So in your mind, you would think that we work with these stiff doughs that that's very old school. It's It's not the way that we approach it at all. So we take wet doughs, put it in hot ovens, bake it quickly.
Okay.
You get that moisture, you get that chewiness, and actually you give it shelf life, because the only difference between a stale bread and a fresh bread is moisture. You can see that it's starting to develop. It's now starting to grab onto each other a little bit. And so we're not going to force it. In today's commercial bakeries, what they do is they force it with a mixer, beat it hard and build that gluten structures. We're not going to do that. We're going to let time build that gluten structure for us. What we're going to do is I'm going to quickly oil that one container, and then you can transfer the dough into it. And that's going to become our container in which we fold the dough and work with it during the process. Okay. So I'm just layering it with a nice generous layer of oil. And you will see why later, but this is necessary. Okay. Now what you can do is you can use that scraper and transfer that dough right into there. Make sure you get everything in. See, these little scrapers are so nifty.
Yes.
So the adding of the salt is quite specific, and this process is called autolyse. So there's no intervention of the salt that holds fermentation. It's just the raw ingredients, just the mother and just soaking up and starting that fermentation process. So we're adding the salt at this point. There's a process of 3 or 4 folds that continues after this. So every 30 to 40 minutes, it depends. If it's summer, it's 30 minutes. If it's winter, it's 40 minutes to 45. And then we start folding the dough. Okay, so I'm going to move over to one that has been resting for 30 minutes so that I can show you the folding process. So again, if you can just pull that water closer. So this you can see is now rested. It's got a little bit of air inside already. It's risen a little bit, which you can see in the difference between this and that. I'll wet my hands once again. Don't want doughy hands. Hold the bowl and I'll stick my hand up into the bottom and fold it over. Can you see that structure that's built? And we didn't mix it.
That's incredible.
At all. Okay, so now you can do this side, that side.
And you wet your hand each time?
Yeah, each time. Okay. Each time. Hold the bowl nice and tight.
From the side too?
Yeah. Nice and deep. Grab it, lift it over. Yeah. Bring it over. You can feel that. That's why the hand working is so essential, because now you can actually not only see it, but you can feel that structure that's building. And I mean, we didn't intervene here at all.
No.
That's doing it by itself. If you see that it struggles to build up its elasticity, just add a 4th fold.
Okay.
And that should do it. So I'm just going to finish this off quickly. So I'll show you what we want the end product to look like. Pulling all the outside corners into the center, and now the dough is kind of telling me, okay, I'm not going to fold anymore. Then I'll flip it over, and you can see that oily inside is just helping us release and work very easily with the dough. Okay, so that's one of 3 folds, which we will follow every 30 minutes. When that is done, we'll transfer the dough, which we can do with this dough now. If this has been the last fold, we can transfer this dough into a floured environment, which we will then rest it in overnight. So I'll show you that step quickly. The 3rd fold will pretty much look the same. It'll have a few more layers, so a little bit more texture, but you get the gist of it. I mean, that's how, and we're going to turn it over as is. And then we can use, you can use a bowl like this. You can use anything that makes sense to you or what you have around in the house. Everybody tries and gets proofing baskets like this. It's not necessary. So now we're taking some flour, which I'm going to sift in here. We're going to transfer it into our floured. So what's going to happen now with this wet dough, it's pretty much going to take on the shape of the container in which you put it. Today what I'm going to show you is how to mimic a wood-fired oven, like a proper baker's oven. And so we're going to make use of a cast iron pot. We're using a round one, so I need a round shape for that.
So that's what people can do at home if they don't have the proper oven to do it in.
What happens from this point onwards, I'll put this in the fridge overnight to ferment straight through. This is now after the overnight ferment. You can see it's built up a little bit of body. The cold dough is really necessary for the scoring, the cutting of the bread, which I'll show you how to do now. So this is now a smaller basket, so you'll have a more plumpy loaf. And just remember that if you have a wider basket, always just try and accommodate the pot that you have. So the baked bread is the result of everything that we did, either right or wrong. So you'll pick up everything. Did you ferment long enough? Did you fold strong enough? Does it have the structure that you require? Did you bake it long enough? Did you bake it too long? This loaf is ready. I can feel it. I can feel the air pockets have developed inside. It's nice and big. We can also see it there. You can see a nice air pocket over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pot that I've preheated now. I'll put it down here and we'll transfer it and I'll put it back into the oven. Okay. This process has to happen very quickly because we want to obviously keep that heat. Okay, I'm going to take this from you. Quickly going to grab my blade. Thank you. I'm going to pop it in there. This is called scoring. Okay, so what we're doing is we're intentionally creating a weak spot for the moisture to escape. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. Okay, so what I want to show you is the versatility of dough. I've folded the dough in a rectangular container and I've doubled up the recipe. Okay, so we've got 2 kilos of dough instead of 1. So what I'll do is I'll just dust my surface. You don't want to use too much because then it's incorporated into your dough. Just enough so it doesn't stick to the table. This is just an old meat tray that we use, but it's nice rectangular. The dough folds easily in that. As you can feel, that's fully fermented. So you can see nicely air bubbles have developed. Also, again, nice oiled container, so we don't struggle with the sticking dough and things like that. There's quick movement. Now we've got options. You know, what's the event? Do you want to make some olive sticks? Do you want to make some chocolate sticks? Or do you just want to make nice rolls for the house with some seeds on it? So we can explore how you make those 3. So I'm going to go up to about 1/3 of this dough, cut it off. Take 1/3 for myself, and then we can make a call about the last 1/3. Here's some chopped up Kalamata olives. Okay.
The olive sticks are our absolute favorite.
Oh, you like them?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to sprinkle some olives up to about 1/3 into your dough. And I'll do the same with the chocolate on this side. You're ready, I'm ready.
Okay.
So what we want to do now is you're going to fold, so you've gone in 1/3s, no?
Yes.
So you're going to take the top 1/3 and fold it over the,
Okay.
just up to there, perfect. You can take off any excess flour. Okay, so work it in your dough, but keep your shape. Don't let your shape go, keep your rectangular shape. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I want to show you something very, very simple and delicious. This is a mixture of linseed, sesame seed, pumpkin seed, sunflower seed. We'll flip it over, press it into the dough, shake off the excess. Just remember the extra seeds that you add that's sitting on top of other seeds will just fall off in your oven and it's going to burn and stuff. So
you
that's
do want
why,
to shake.
Yeah, you do want to shake it off. What you do want to do is you want to stay consistent as far as possible. Just with the eye, a smaller item will bake shorter than a... Yeah. Okay, excellent. Well done. Well done. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I've set the timer for 20 minutes on the oven on the cast iron pots.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to bake for about 40 to 50 minutes. So after 20 minutes, I'm going to take the lid off for it to get its color.
Okay.
Okay. Now the trick of the lid is, normally they ask you to apply steam in a way to your dough to get that final rise in the oven.
Yeah.
But with the lid on, it's actually creating its own steam. So it's absolutely, it's taking out that component that you don't have to worry about. So once we take the oven, when we take the lid off, we can pop in our tray.
Perfect.
So I'm actually going to bring you one of these guys.
Yeah.
Just assists in keeping the shape.
And I think this is also something fun that you can do with kids.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And they can choose their toppings and...
Yeah, as you know, we also do the cheese stick and, I mean, anything you feel like. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, we've made a lot of products with one simple dough.
That's amazing, yeah.
And it really only required us to put in the time.
Wow, what an honor to bake with you.
Check this out, Beans.
That looks incredible.
That. Open pockets means it's nice and airy. Moisture you can see clearly, nice and chewy, and the crust is not too thick. And that's the magic of a very wet dough in a very hot oven.
Best bread I've ever tasted.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Now you all know how to make sourdough bread at home. I definitely have an immense appreciation for each loaf of bread that is baked. So thank you so much for imparting your wisdom, your time, your knowledge and your skills with us.
No, absolutely. It's a huge pleasure, and thank you for making the time of telling the story and showing the people, because it's important, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Fritz. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Cocobean Cooks, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for all of my latest videos. All my recipes are on my website, cocobeancooks.com. Happy cooking! See you next time!